And to kind of show what we're working with here, the NES itself is kind of sketchy on how well it likes to receive this particular cart. So I'm not going to be using the original hardware, but I am going to be using the original cart. If you can see right here, this fellow right here is not the copy that I had when I was a youngin', but is a copy of the same game nonetheless. And I have no idea where that one got to. I think I probably lent it to a friend. And this was back before I was kind of realizing that video games would be a life trajectory, so these things seemed more disposable than... Turns out they actually have been, so I'm glad to have reacquired this. I actually got this for a steal on eBay. I think it was like $35, and this particular edition, for some reason, even though it's not the best port, goes for something like 60, 70 on average, so I felt really lucky to get this. Probably because it didn't have the original box or the instruction manual, but that's fine. My hands remember it well enough. So here we go. Let's snap that in there. Oh yeah, this is something else I found. Space Hamlet, you might think this is kind of neat. Is not an original NES game, but it is an NES flashcart port of a game that I loved when I was young called Glider. And you fly a paper airplane through a house, navigate through different obstacles, and try to make it out to escape. You can kind of see there an example of what the screen looks like. This port is neat. I actually find it a little more interesting as an oddity than I do as an actual port, because many of the sound effects are not quite where they should be. Some of the physics are a little bit off. Nonetheless, it is a noble effort to make this playable in cart form, which I have right here, as a matter of fact. And that'll be cool to do. No. Hold on. Come on, kiddo. Sorry, kiddo. There you go. Okay. Cat jumping precariously close to the power button. I agree, and I would like to actually do some more with that to make it more visible. John Calhoun, the guy who made it, has been very kind and accessible. I contacted him actually asking if he had like a bunch of houses from the old game that he might have had, in backup and storage, and he sent me a ton of them. So that's really cool to see that he still has that stuff and that he is generous enough to share it. So. But yeah, anyway, this is kind of cool. It also comes with its own little Nintendo-looking sleeve there. But actually, streaming original Glider from an emulator would be a fun stream also. If I could get this Mac Classic Plus running, that would also be a cool platform to find some way of getting the video out so that it could stream on this. But, all that aside, yeah, we can... that sounds familiar. Back before I think this was more of an organized affair. That sounds like something I would have done for sure. Unfortunately, for some reason on the System 6, System 7 emulators that play Glider 4.06, they will play the guitar loop, which gets a little tiresome, but not play the sound effects, and for some reason, and Glider Pro has something similar that's kind of wonky with it. But yeah, that would be fun to do. I mean, we had a conversation about it at some point, and I was like, I actually wrongly assumed that you were older than you in fact are, because that is a fairly rare piece of video game knowledge to have for somebody who didn't catch it like at the height of its relevance. So, excuse me. So, but yes, here we go. This is Prince of Persia, and I'm thinking... You have the option to turn music on and music off. I've never really liked the music for this one, so I'm going to turn it off. It's going to be a quieter affair where you just have the sound effects. So, yeah. Here we go. 1 second. music in this one is a little Tetris-y, I find. Although, I don't know. Face Hamlet, what's your take on that? What do you think about the music? You are somebody who has an ear for it. Tetris-y, yes. You know what? I think I'll leave the music on. Whenever I played this when I was younger, I always turned it off, and I think for the experience of posterity, I think it'd be fine. And just to show the legitness of the playthrough, this is an actual NES controller that I am using on the EMU box. The cable on this is getting old enough so that it's starting to get a little rigid. Oh, this is kind of cool. So this game has a password system, and if you go to continue, it's got a kind of a cute way of inputting it. So you have this potion, and you put in your password. And if you get the wrong password, you drink the potion and you die instantly. So that's kind of cute, I think. This is supposed to be an inferior port of this game, I understand, which is interesting. Comparing the fluidity of the animation to you know, like the PC version, it does have fewer frames of animation. So the rotoscoping effect that made the original Prince of Persia's graphics so remarkable it looks less rotoscoped and more drawn in this, is what I want to say. Oh. Yes, yeah, the color palettes are, close one. The color palettes are pretty simple in this. And as a matter of fact, this sort of I don't know, pink and this kind of pink and dark blue palette actually reminds me of the Ninja Gaiden cutscenes. That these are colors that that you would use to use mask and everything. I remember feeling a special kinship with this game because even though the prince is of Persia, his hair is red, as is mine, and that felt like a nice place to approach a self-insert as a lad. Okay, cool. Yeah, so controls in Prince of Persia, I'm actually just kind of assuming that people just kind of know this, but I probably shouldn't. So yeah, this is like the original run and jump platform game. Uncharted, any game that you can think of that has this sort of platforming stuff absolutely traces its genealogy back to this. If you're standing still and you press the jump button, you do a quick jump forward. You run, and but when you start running, you can't stop on a dime, so you gotta kind of think ahead of time and stop pressing your input, so you don't like fall off a ledge or whatever. To have more control over your motion, you can press the B button and take a single step that's kind of about one tile's length. Yeah, the most dynamic thing you can do outside of jumping is if you're falling, if you're within a certain distance of a ledge, you can grab onto it so you don't fall down to your death. And yeah, the main things that you're trying to avoid are death from falling, running out of HP, which you see down there in the form of the little arrows, or getting impaled on spikes, which appear out of the floor. And the premise of this is that the prince has been thrown in a dungeon by the evil vizier Jafar, who has captured the princess and is holding her in a tower. It is a very classic, you know, save the princess literally story. Yeah, there we go. Something that's neat about the sword fight there, it's not super sophisticated. You have attack and you have attack and the computer character can block, or they can attack and you can block, or they attack, or somebody attacks and nobody blocks and you take damage. That's really it. But the specific animation on the parry and the thrust comes from a pirate movie that Jordan Mechner really liked, and in the same way that he took footage of his brother running and jumping in a parking lot, and then used that to rotoscope draw the animations of the prince. Like everything that you're seeing the prince here do, he actually had his little brother do in a parking lot, and he filmed and then kind of digitally drew over. Yeah, he also used the sword fight from that pirate movie to do the same. I've got the book around here somewhere. I can probably find out which one it is. Yeah, there is a book, which I will, this one I'm referring to, which I will find. I like these columns, by the way. That is some good NES 3D making looking. Oop. That is kind of the development history of that game in terms of his experience as a developer, especially dealing with the pressures of developing this game. Especially after Karateka was such a success. Karateka, of course, probably better known as the source of the disco dancing ninja GIF that was popular back in the YTMND days of the internet, and still, I believe, amuses today. I do like how in the way that they did the bricks, there is just a little bit of variety in there to stop it from being too samey. Ooh. Nope. Yep, that's how you die from getting stabbed. I do find it particularly grotesque how if you look at the prince's body, especially the arms and the feet, I get the feeling that there's like one death graphic for kind of all purpose, but I think it probably most often refers to falling and just kind of shattering all of your bones. So yeah, his body in certain parts is just an amorphous blob. Oh wow, if you don't continue instantly, it sends you back to the start. I did not know it did that. I'm really glad that we found that out really early on, without getting too far ahead. Yeah, spikes are super gruesome. I think this game is right up there with Super Mario Bros. 1 in terms of telling you everything that you need to know about the basics of its design just by interacting with it right at the start. It has, you know, it has the pits, it has the trick falls. The only way that you progress is by exploring, by walking around, and then the floor literally falls out from underneath your feet. And that right there just tells you everything you need to know about what the game expects you to have a handle on for moving forward. It says you're going to have to move, you're going to have to run, jump, fall, and you're going to have to be really careful. Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. I used to hate dying on the spikes in particular. One of the ways that you can die on them, and I'll demonstrate this. Oof. block right on the head. I will demonstrate this when I get to the second level. Is if you run head on into the spikes, they will sprout up anyway. And if you're running at full speed, you will die on them as though you had fallen on them. And it's just particularly gruesome to me, not necessarily because of the impalement, but because of how avoidable it is, and just the idea of the prince confidently running along. Hold on. Confidently running along and then tripping and just falling, you know, chest first onto this trap. It's just it's a gruesome image, and the tragedy of it is almost more distressing than the thing itself. But yeah, I think that this game's design in the first level tells you so much about what you need as a basic understanding to navigate the rest of the game, and I think that it's very smart for that. Okay, let's see if I can find a spike trap. Okay, so here's one. I'm going to run straight on it, and here we go. There you go. There's one of the most gruesome deaths on an 8-bit platform. Evening, Peacher. It's good to see you. And despite not being signed in, you are still coming across with your username. So there's some victory there. I really like how in between the levels there is no, there are no cutscenes, there's no exposition. This is something very different from what he did with Karateka. I like just having to form the story in my head of there, you know, 2 guards at the lowest level of the prison, and through some means word gets out that the prince is escaping. And so they just start flooding these treacherous areas with guards who have got the most miserable patrol and cannot wait to lay waste to you so they can get out of here. I also imagine there must be some sort of baseline level of dexterity needed to be a guard down here, because these passages don't seem like they have an administrator's access route to clearing them. Okay, I do not need any of these. Oh, actually, I do want one of these, because I'm about to have a sword fight. One thing that is slightly unfortunate about the NES port is that you can run into slowdown in certain areas, which, you know, when you're playing a platforming game whose success depends on a measure of timing, can be a little frustrating. And I believe there is... You can get life extensions here. I certainly would not call this game a roguelike, or roguelite in any sense, but it does have elements of power-ups persisting between death and attempt. Whenever you die, the only thing that you're really losing based off of is running out of time. So you can die as many times as you want. But that power-up that I got that added another little tick to my life down there, if I die, that tick is still going to stay there, so I can also jump over spikes like that, which is particularly terrifying, because that seems like a an especially unwanted impalement death. But yeah, what's over here? Is this a place for me to go? Maybe it is? Oh, there's my exit. Weird. Let me see if I can make this jump. There we go. Actually forgot what I was saying, so rip. Yeah, they look better on the PC and Mac versions than they do on this. They have pretty much just like two tile sets, basically, two environment graphics for the palace and the dungeon. And the palace, I mean, it looks and feels brighter, of course, but it doesn't feel dramatically bigger or cleaner, I guess. Yes, exactly. Which is especially interesting because Jordan Mechner, in the Prince of Persia history of book, oh, these are gruesome. Hold on. He mentions that his intention was, in fact, to write screenplays for Hollywood movies, and this actually wound up being an avenue for making that dream come true, because I think there was a Prince of Persia movie. But yeah, for somebody who wanted to make like movie-like experiences, okay, he did a really good job of sticking to making this game's story told entirely through its gameplay, which is okay. That's a particularly tricky way of this game is the way this game is constructed is knowing when to jump when your next leap is off screen. You know, something that Hideo Kojima certainly did not think was a necessary thing to avoid. There we go. Oh, crap. Well... What? That's crazy. I didn't know you could survive that. All right. Now this takes us back to the beginning, but I know what I did wrong. I kind of got talking and explaining and delayed, tarried too long while that gate closed after I stepped on the pressure plate. This is a really interesting game to follow after Karateka because they're very different kinds of games, but just because they use rotoscopy animations and the characters have kind of similar, I don't know, they sort of fit their environments in similar ways, like in terms of dimension and proportion, this kind of feels like it should be a sequel to Karateka, but it isn't, weirdly. Alright, here we go. Whoo! The skeleton is an interesting enemy because that again is something that's really never explained. It's just okay. So yes, you are trying to get out of a basement to rescue the princess from the vizier's evil designs. Also, the dead can come back. Okay, that's a less important detail, apparently. All right. So, I think I remember the way to get back down there. Yeah, I should be able to climb down here. Weird, it doesn't want me to do that. Well, there is another way around that. Just turn around here, kind of slide over here. And that is, frankly, terrifying, which is to run off the ledge and then grab this one. And, that's always a little nail-biting of a trick. Yeah, this is the palace set, Space Hamlet. Oh! Woo! Thought that was gonna get me. This is a kind of a neat trick that they have here. So there's this pressure plate here, which opens this door up here, but clearly it looks like I can't get there. But if I smash this thing and make it fall, then oh, weird, it didn't do it. So what normally happens is if you break that that tile, it falls down, and the resulting crash on top of that pressure plate permanently presses it down. And that doesn't happen very often, but it's kind of cool that it does there. Yeah, I know, right? I think it's interesting that the palace colors actually seem to match the torches a little better. Suggests that the feeling of safety and warmth that you get from the torches in the dungeon are your normal up here. I also dig how the sort of masonry that's packing in the screen around the playable corridors. The shapes of those bricks have changed as well. They're not the same kind of blocky blocks. You are not making that up, but that is for the sequel, I think. The sequel opens up somewhat more bewilderingly, because the prince is forced to escape after things go awry, as they inevitably do. So you're running around on rooftops, balconies, and things like that, so it's more of an outdoor environment. But that is not in this one. Woo. Yes. Yeah, I can see his down attack being like he ducks down, covers his head or something, and just like the spikes in the floor come up around him. And you know, he deftly misses them. So this is a cool cinematic thing. So the effect is not there as it is in the other versions, but that is a mirror that you jump through. You do usually get to hear a smashing glass sound effect, I believe, and your reflection runs off in the other direction. So now you got a doppelganger running around out there. Yeah, it is weird. It's very cool, and I think it's in terms of making this a cinematic story experience rather than just pure gameplay. I think it's actually really neat. You're gonna see him come back up here in a second, I think. Hold on. Yeah, there he is, the punk. Taking my life drink. But yeah, I know having a minor antagonist show up is actually a pretty cool choice. It's also got to be wild for the prince just to kind of be running around doing your stuff. And then you hop up on that ledge and you just happen to see yourself running away. Because, you know, we know, as players, that his double split off from him at the mirror, but he himself has no reason to know that. So for all he knows is it a twin? It is his evil self. Mysteries and mysteries. Is it the doppelganger idea in particular that freaks you out? I know that is a special source of fear for many people. Ooh! Oh, wow. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's something that I really do dig about, and I haven't thought about this until we've talked about it just now, but how casually it accepts the weirdness of its world, and that there are these supernatural elements that are taken as just sort of matter of fact, not explained or anything. Alright, we're out of here. I believe, from what I remember reading in the design history, it was something that he came up with something to spice things up, because some of the feedback that he got was that the game felt too samey all the way through, and people were having a hard time finding novelty to keep themselves interested in it, which is very funny for us now that you know, the game at most, if you're playing through, is like an hour-long experience. But yeah, people were finding it too samey and dull. So that was something that he came up with that would be a cheap way of a resource inexpensive trick to pull that could add some variety, because, you know, the prince's character and everything already exists. It's just a matter of, you know, duplicating it. Alright, here we go. Ho ho! And he is absolutely antagonizing us. Back into the dungeon with us. Which is not to say that it is not an Arabian Nights thing. He could easily have drawn inspiration from that without noting that down. I really dig level layouts like this where you can, you know, the prince himself doesn't know what's coming up, but because of your sort of vertical slice of the level like that, you can see what you're going to have to do soon. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you might say that, I mean, ideally, you would be able to add, oh, one has political prisoners and the other one doesn't. But, it seems that given the ineffectiveness of this dungeon as a actual place to trap and keep people, that distinction doesn't really hold. Absolutely not going to mess with that. Same there. I think it's interesting that, and I don't know how I feel about it, but it is interesting to me that they chose to communicate when you deal and take damage by actually taking all the black on the screen and changing it to a different color. I mean, it certainly conveys, it certainly makes each impact very big on the player's radar. Yes, exactly. And this is not super well explained in this version. It took me a lot to figure out exactly how this works. This looks like a maximum health potion, but when you drink it, you get a different color where all the black should be. This is actually a light as a feather potion, so you can make this jump down here and not die. And the only way that you know this is down here is by mistakenly falling to your death at one point. Yeah, I know, right? I gotta say, it is one of the most video gamey things that you could have a platform so ill-supported as this, with that gap right there, and this is just as sturdy, regardless. Kind of breaks my brain a little bit. Woo! Alright, there's our exit. Yeah, putting that kind of in conversation with what we came across with Soul Reaver 2, and there being that, you know, the solution to the puzzle involving something that you can pull that is not clearly marked as such. It's one of these aspects of how game design is developed that I kind of think that games like Dark Souls that expect you to figure things out, I think that they're valorized for creating that experience. I don't know if they're exactly the same as these old ones, because I think these older games just kind of expect you to, I don't know. They seem a little more derelict in their interest in communicating things, whereas the Souls games, the cues and the communications are very subtle for the kinds of things that you need to do, but ultimately they are discoverable in things like level design, enemy placement and the like. They don't leave you. They do not leave you as out in the cold as these games do, but they create that feeling of being out in the cold that that I think we enjoy overcoming. Here we go. Oh, that is bullshit! I totally made that. Which one do you have in mind? Here we go. Oh, man. I know I can make that jump, it's just much harder now. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Alright. Can do this. Here we go. That is garbage. I'm totally making that jump, and I'm going to die so I can reset that plate. Alright, let's do this again. So I can make through all this, I've got no problem, but whew. Just stabbed my toe on that one. That jump right there. No, actually I don't think it's even that one. Is that it? I think that's it. Yeah, that's the one. Thank you. I appreciate it. Bam. It is kind of brutal when something that makes the jump possible or easier fails. Okay, here we go. All right. This is where I'm talking about slowdown being a little brutal because of the precision timing needed. Alright. minutes left. Which floor are we on? Alright, gate is open. This is kind of a cute moment coming up. It doesn't really get the time that it needs, but here you are trapped, and a little mouse comes by and opens up the pressure plate for you. I think in some of the other versions, they let you kind of squirm a little bit more by kind of bumping your face up against the gate. So you're like, what do I do? What do I do? I'm trapped. And then the mouse comes along and you kind of appreciate it even more. Level 9. Okay, okay, we're still making good time. There are 13 levels total. Yeah, I'm actually wondering, is there... Yeah, there we go. Ooh. Woo! I'm actually wondering in retrospect how I figured all this stuff out. I think it was probably by trial and error, just because I don't think I had access to any magazines, and I definitely was not allowed to call any of the game counselor, like 900 numbers on like the back of magazines and stuff. Ooh. Whew. Alright, I absolutely need that health potion. Whoop. Okay, cool. Yeah, I can see that. Alright. Ooh. Oh, man. Okay, I think I know what I'm gonna do now. Yeah, I have no idea where all this stuff is stored in my brain, but the recall is there. Ah, oh, son of a... Okay. Ooh! Well, that's gruesome. Was it this way? No, it was not this way. Yep, got chomped. 27 minutes. I think we can still do this. And if we don't, I have a password. So we can still see the ending. And it is an earned password, I promise you that. Evening, Juice. It's good to meet you. Whereabouts in Germany are you? Is it gonna... Nope. Actually, it occurs to me, I don't need to fight that dude at all. There we go. I ask because I have some familiarity with Bavaria. Oh man. Oh man. Ah, oh, what? I totally hit him. Likewise. I'm glad to hear that. Excuse me. I was actually wondering if, when I chose the category for this, if it was going to, if it actually meant this Prince of Persia, or if it was one of the newer ones that, just for whatever reason, do not have like a secondary title or anything. Oh, this can be brutal. This is a very... And especially if I screw this up, because you can actually get soft locked. Well, they give you a trap there that you can die on if you screw it up, but... Alright. And that's it for him. Alright, this is it. This is the one. Yeah, this falls right in line with the LucasArts games. Same era, same nostalgia. I actually find myself curious if they ever released a port of this on the Commodore 64. It would have been around the same time, but I cannot imagine the C64 being able to handle something like this. And some of the weirdest, more interesting, to me, more interesting C64 games kind of come toward the end of the system's life cycle, when it was trying to, when they were still porting games to it that were on just developed on hardware that was loads, like miles more sophisticated than what the C64 could handle. So you have things like the Final Fight port. Alright, let's do a run for it. This always makes me nervous. Okay. Yeah, anyway, like the port of Final Fight is really rough, and you know, by the time Capcom was releasing that in the arcades, the C64 was, you know, pretty well superseded in the 8-bit home console market. So yeah, this game seems like something that's a little more than that system would have handled, so I'm curious to know what it would look like. Oh yeah, the 2008 reboot. I remember that. That is that game allows you to do much more with the Prince's mobility than this one. Okay, here we go. Oh man. I think the maps are roughly the same. Okay, we can do this. Yeah, there we go. I think I'm okay. I think I don't need that. But maybe there's something else up here I do need. Seems nice. Yeah. I don't believe I have hit a plate that says the exit has been opened yet. But this is not the way to go. There we go. Whew. Second guessed myself for a second after I started running. Yes, Juice, I likewise wish for the same. I was actually thinking the other day that there's a really great used game store in the Seattle area called Pink Gorilla. They've got a couple of locations, one in the International District and the other in the University. And I do miss going in there and browsing around, which is not something that I feel particularly safe doing currently. And it's certainly not because of them, but, you know, the whole pandemic thing that we all live with. Prince taking decisive and aggressive action on that. Weird. But it, although that was actually a very short level. Weird. You're right, Space Hamlet. That fits the time perfectly. Ooh. That was one of the things I liked about his kind of who he is here. That, you know, when I was a kid, made him seem relatable was because the main thing he had going for him was athleticism and at least enough sword play ability to be better than the guards. But the athleticism is the main thing getting him through, and I enjoyed that. There we go. That was good. That had some pretty good back and forth on that one. Juice, I'm curious. Have you played the remake of Prince of Persia that I think it was released on consoles back in the late 2000s? I can do this. Buddy, I am blocking. Alright, cool. Alright, all I have to do is not die and make it back to the exit, and I'm good. We're just kind of getting pretty close to the edge of the amount of time I've got on this. God. That's interesting. I'd be interested to know what you think about the remake compared to them, because it does evolve the experience a little more. The combat especially, I like the combat in the remake more than this, but the platforming, I actually like how stripped back and in some ways stiff and deliberate this is. Ooh, well, that's it for him. So this is the next to last level. This is the hardest platforming level there is. And one of the things that makes it very interesting to me from the perspective of, you know, your character's moving through this world, so the gamer's perceptions, you know, are in some ways transferred over to him. But all of the jumps that are needed to make it through this all depend on knowing where platforms are to land on, but they're always just out of sight for the player because they're on another screen. But, you know, ideally the prince himself would be able to see these things, like that right there, right? You only know to jump off the ledge if you can see where it is, but you, the player, don't know that, so you have to kind of... But the prince himself would be able to see that. And that is an interesting tension to me, that the prince has access to information that would enable me to help him survive, but I don't have access to it because it's a game, and it's supposed to be a challenge to me. Okay. Like the timing on this jump here. Whew. Actually feeling very nervous / lucky because I almost always fail at least one of these jumps the first few times through. Okay, here we go. Whoo! Ha-ha! It's also particularly terrifying knowing exactly how far down you have to fall. Also, interestingly, Space Hamlet, so this is one of the highest towers, and it also has dungeon, tiles and aesthetic, which is very interesting to think like you climbed near to the highest part of the tower, and, hold on. No. Whew. Okay. Yeah, you've climbed to the highest part of the tower and the lights are out. Thank you, Juice. Oh my god, we're at the last level. I kind of almost wasn't sure I was going to make it on stream. "12 minutes left." That's interesting. I haven't read Borges in quite some time. Here we go. Here's the Vizier. Yeah. I like the notion that he raised an undead skeleton to guard him, and he's an evil wizard, and he's up here left alone. All right. They still have pressure plates, even though I'm right here at the end. The tyrant Jafar lies dead, his power shattered throughout the land. The people of Persia hail their princess, and the brave youth who saved her from the forces of darkness. No longer a stranger, he shall from this day forth be known as Prince of Persia. Ellipsis. I killed Jafar. He was the last dude to stab. Yeah, it is kind of funny to me that like I had to step on all these trigger plates to open the gate to get to her, and what I know from those trigger plates is the gates always slam shut after a set period of time. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, did he just trap himself inside the princess's cell? Are they both prisoners now, with the only person who knows that they're there dead? So, thank you. So yeah, what time is it? Oh, it's about 12:17. That's pretty good. So yeah, thank you everybody for coming out. That was Prince of Persia NES, a classic favorite from when I was a youngin'. And yeah, it'll be fun to do an NES stream for a stinger sometime later for more Glider. That'll be a good time. All right, here we go. More Glider. There's that. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining on Tuesday. Actually, no. So Tuesday nights over the next month are going to be taken up for a class. So weekday streams are going to shift from Tuesday to Wednesday. Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to do Resident Evil 4, and we're at part 4 of that. And Saturdays still should be the same. We'll still do we'll do Soul Reaver 2 part 2 on Saturday of next week. So again, thanks everybody for coming out. Space Hamlet, it's good to see you as always. And Juice, fantastic to meet you. Thank you for coming out. I hope you guys have a great night, or Juice, in your case, a good day. And thank you for the follow.